Have you ever wondered why the more available you are for everyone else, the less valued you often feel? Many people believe that always saying yes is a sign of kindness, maturity, or emotional strength. But psychology reveals something far more complex. The dangerous cost of always being available isn't just exhaustion. It slowly changes how others perceive you, how they treat you, and even how you see yourself. If you constantly put your own needs aside, you may be reinforcing invisible psychological patterns that weaken your boundaries, increase emotional dependence, and quietly damage your self-worth without realizing it. If you stay until the end of this video, you'll discover why this behavior develops, the hidden emotional mechanisms that keep it alive, how it affects your relationships and mental well-being, and, most importantly, how to break this cycle without becoming cold or distant. Because the greatest risk is not being generous. It's losing yourself while trying to be available for everyone else. Welcome. This is a space for understanding the human mind and modern emotions, helping people better understand anxiety, relationships, and their inner thoughts. If you can't control your emotions, people will control you. Most people misunderstand emotional control. It's not about staying calm. It's about how your mind silently shapes your behavior, your relationships, and the way people respond to you without you realizing it. If you stay until the end, you'll understand the psychological patterns behind your reactions, why you repeat certain behaviors, and how your mind actually builds emotional habits in daily life. Because the real issue is not what you feel, it's what your mind does with what you feel. And most people never notice this process happening. Today, you'll understand why always being available may be one of the most overlooked forms of self-sabotage. You'll learn how your brain associates approval with safety, why people often respect clear boundaries more than constant availability, and how small changes in your behavior can completely transform the way others respond to you. What you're about to hear may challenge beliefs you've carried for years, but it may also explain patterns you've struggled to understand throughout your life. Let's begin. Have you ever noticed that the people who are always there for everyone else are often the ones who feel the most invisible? Maybe you've answered every text immediately, changed your plans to help someone, stayed available even when you were exhausted, or said yes simply because saying no felt uncomfortable. At first, it feels like you're being supportive, kind, or dependable. But over time, something starts to change. Instead of feeling appreciated, you begin to feel expected. Instead of being valued, you become predictable. And without realizing it, you're teaching people that your time, your energy, and even your emotional well-being are always available on demand. The strange part is that this doesn't happen overnight. It happens through dozens of small decisions that seem harmless in the moment. Your mind starts connecting approval with safety, making you believe that being constantly available protects your relationships. But the truth is that this silent habit slowly drains your emotional energy while convincing you that you're doing the right thing. The worst part? Most people don't even notice this pattern until they begin feeling emotionally exhausted, frustrated, or quietly resentful toward the very people they care about. And once the cycle becomes part of your daily life, it starts affecting far more than your schedule. It changes the way you see yourself, the boundaries you set, and even the respect you receive from others in ways that are much harder to recognize than they first appear. What most people never realize is that your brain isn't trying to make you popular. It's trying to keep you emotionally safe. Every time you answer immediately, cancel your own plans to help someone, or avoid disappointing people, your mind quietly rewards that behavior because it reduces the discomfort of possible rejection. For a brief moment, you feel relief, but that relief comes with a hidden cost. The brain starts learning that your value depends on how available you are to others, not on who you are. Over time, this automatic pattern becomes so familiar that you stop questioning it. You begin apologizing for needing time alone, feeling guilty for protecting your own schedule, and worrying that one unanswered message could damage a relationship. The strange part is that the people around you also adapt to this pattern. They don't necessarily become more grateful. They simply begin to expect your constant availability as normal. That's how an invisible psychological loop is created. The more available you become, the less noticeable your effort feels. Your generosity slowly turns into expectation, and expectation eventually becomes entitlement. This is why so many people end up feeling emotionally drained even when they believe they're doing everything right. They aren't losing energy because they care too much. They're losing it because their brain has quietly confused self-sacrifice with emotional security. And once that belief settles in, it begins influencing every relationship in ways that are far more subtle and far more powerful than most people ever stop to notice. This is where the real cost begins to show, and most people never connect it to their own behavior. When you're always available, people slowly stop seeing your time as something valuable. They don't necessarily respect you less on purpose, but their expectations quietly shift. Your quick replies become normal. Your willingness to help becomes assumed. Your flexibility becomes something others rely on without even thinking about it. Meanwhile, something changes inside you as well. You begin checking your phone more often, wondering why someone hasn't responded with the same urgency you always show. You feel disappointed when your effort isn't returned, yet you keep giving more, hoping that eventually people will notice. This creates a painful emotional imbalance. Instead of relationships feeling mutual, they begin feeling one-sided. Ironically, people who protect their time with healthy boundaries are often seen as more confident, not because they care less, but because they send a subtle message that their attention has value. Human behavior naturally responds to perceived value, and emotional availability works the same way. When your presence is constantly accessible, it becomes easier for others to overlook it. But when your time reflects self-respect instead of constant urgency, people tend to engage with you differently. The surprising part is that this shift has very little to do with changing who you are, and everything to do with changing the silent signals your everyday behavior sends to the people around you. The hardest part about this pattern is that it usually didn't begin in adulthood. Long before you started answering every message or putting everyone else's needs ahead of your own, your brain was already learning what it believed was necessary to feel accepted. If at some point in life approval felt conditional, attention had to be earned, or keeping the peace seemed safer than expressing your own needs, those experiences didn't simply disappear. Your emotional memory stored them as survival strategies. That's why your reactions today often feel automatic. When someone seems distant, your first instinct may be to reach out faster. When you sense disappointment, you may immediately try to fix it. When conflict appears, you might sacrifice your own boundaries just to restore harmony. Your brain isn't responding only to the present moment. It is comparing today's situations with emotional memories that were never fully resolved. The surprising part is that these old patterns can quietly shape your adult relationships without you realizing it. You may believe you're simply being thoughtful or dependable, while your mind is actually trying to prevent an emotional outcome it learned to fear years ago. Once the cycle repeats enough times, it starts feeling like part of your personality, even though it's really a protective habit your brain has carried for far longer than you may have noticed. Real change rarely begins the moment you decide to act differently. It begins the moment you notice what has been controlling your reactions all along. Once you recognize that being constantly available isn't always an act of kindness, but sometimes an automatic search for reassurance, you start looking at your own behavior through a completely different lens. You may still care deeply about people. You may still enjoy helping, supporting, and being present. But there's a meaningful difference between choosing to be available and feeling unable not to be. That awareness changes everything. Instead of reacting immediately to every message, every request, or every emotional situation, you create a brief pause. In that pause, your brain has the opportunity to ask a different question. Am I doing this because I truly want to, or because I'm afraid of what might happen if I don't? That single moment of reflection gradually weakens patterns that may have guided your relationships for years. You don't become distant, selfish, or emotionally unavailable. You simply stop allowing fear to make your decisions for you. And as that shift becomes part of your daily life, something unexpected often happens. The respect you were searching for from others slowly begins to grow from the relationship you build with yourself first. And that changes the way every future connection has the chance to develop. Maybe the greatest cost of always being available isn't the time you lose. It's the version of yourself that slowly disappears without making any noise. It doesn't happen in one dramatic moment. It happens through small choices repeated so often that they begin to feel normal. You stop questioning them. You stop noticing them. Until one day, you realize you've spent more energy protecting other people's comfort than listening to your own. What's fascinating about the human mind is that it rarely changes because someone gives it the perfect answer. It changes when something finally makes an old pattern impossible to ignore. And sometimes, the most important realization isn't discovering who has been taking too much from you. It's recognizing the quiet story your own mind has been telling for years about what it takes to deserve love, acceptance, and connection. Perhaps the people around you haven't changed as much as you thought. Perhaps what has changed is the way you now see the invisible patterns that have shaped your relationships all along. And once a pattern becomes visible, it can never feel completely invisible again. So before you leave this video, ask yourself one simple question. If no one expected you to always be available, who would you become? Sometimes, the answer to that question says more about your future than anything anyone else could ever tell you. If this video helped you see your own behavior from a different perspective, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next videos on psychology, human behavior, and emotional growth. Leave a like if you want to see more content that helps you better understand yourself and the people around you. I'd also love to hear from you. If you watched all the way to the end, leave the comment, "I'm choosing awareness." It'll let me know you stayed until the very last second, and I'd love to read your thoughts. Now don't stop here. Click the video that's on your screen because it connects perfectly with what you just learned, and then explore the playlist for even more videos that reveal the hidden patterns behind everyday behavior. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.